Hey guys.
Good morning, Jonas.
Good
morning.
Morning, John. Morning, Daniel.
Yeah, we have a fairly thin agenda today. I don't know, Jose, if you're prepared to talk a little bit about the contribution. Otherwise, we'll just go over, and I didn't get anything back from Alex. I know he created this page for us when it comes to industry initiatives and outreach. So we could look at that. I did schedule the second training session tomorrow because I thought we would have a regular TSC meeting today. So we'll see.
Yes, Jonas. Yeah. I haven't prepared anything to talk about our contribution, but I will be happy to answer if there is any question. That's one thing.
Yeah, I was thinking at one point you would create a proposal on the TSC under the TSC proposals, and we can look at it there.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, we'll plan to do that very soon. If there is not too much on the agenda, then we probably can discuss about the last week's item, right? We had one thing that noted. Is there a feasibility or any possibility to leverage DMTF's, the open lab or something that interoperability lab that they were?
Yeah, sure. That's good. That's a good proposal. Bharat is here as well. If there are any lingering questions on last week's presentation and training.
Can you do a quick recap on the training and the plan for the training? If this is the kind of overall training we talked about, there should be some more detailed trainings as well, or what is the plan? So I wasn't here last week, so I missed it. So I'm going to try to participate tomorrow and also have some of our engineering team joining tomorrow.
Yeah, so the training is recorded. If you go to, I think, last week's agenda.
Yeah, I saw the recording there. It was 1 hour 40 minutes, right? So it was long training.
Yeah. It was it 1 hour and 40 minutes actually? Oh, perhaps we.
Yeah, when I checked it, it was 1 hour 40 minutes. I was really surprised by that. So I just did the quick scan what it was before this meeting now. So I haven't seen it yet. But the idea is that the one tomorrow will be the same, or?
Yeah, I think we have only planned it for an hour, and last week we also only had 1 hour. And I know after that meeting I had another meeting. So I wonder how the training ended up being that long.
Yeah, I think it was 1 hour, Daniel.
Maybe it's something wrong because I checked in the end and it says kind of the Intel names for a very long time. So maybe it's something wrong in the video in that, but I could be mistaken as well.
Yeah. Okay. Is Bob here? Yeah, you are, Bob. Do you want to run this, or you are on mute, or you're not hearing what I'm saying?
He's not in mute, I think.
Oh, no, he's not on mute, yeah. But there is double and triple mutes. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And Alex is not here. Bob, can you hear us? Okay. So then let's just, if there were no questions on last week's training, I guess we had plenty of discussions during the training session. I can, tomorrow, Bharat, what are we planning on showing tomorrow? We wanted to do a code review, a code walkthrough of some of the services, right?
Yeah, the aggregation service.
And there we have updated the aggregation service, or we are in the process of updating it. I don't know if we are completely done yet, Bharat, are we?
We're done with the aggregation source and aggregation service. The connection type what we've not taken up yet.
Yeah, we have some outstanding question to DMTF. So the way we used to add servers and even, well, basically managers, was that we used the aggregation service, and then in there was an add action. And then after the DMTF actually released the aggregation service, they came up with a slightly different approach. In the aggregation service, there are aggregation sources, and that's a collection. So the way you add a manager then would be to post to that collection. So that's what we have updated. So we do. So tomorrow's training is going to reflect that. It's just an outstanding slight confusion about, because when you add a manager, you also need to tell the system somehow of what plugin to use. And there, DMTF came up with something. What was it called? Bharat, connection sources variants?
Connection method type and variants.
Yeah, connection mesh. The type thing is like you can be OEM, Redfish, and a few others, and then the variance is a string, and that string is where we're thinking we stick the plugin ID, and I think that was the purpose of that. So the type would be Redfish, and the string would be some ID of the plugin then. So because you can add many servers and you might have many plugins, so you want to make sure that the system is aware of what plugin to use when you add the server or the manager. But if you look at the spec, it says this field should be used when OEM is picked as the type, but it doesn't say only. So that's the outstanding question we have to DMTF. They just need to clarify that, and then we will be good there. So anyhow, tomorrow's training will be on the aggregation service, as well as a code review or code walkthrough of that service. And we will try to record that again, like we did last time. Hopefully that will work. And I haven't
I
seen
just checked the recording again. It's 40 minutes of displaying Rafal's name, I think. So maybe if you have the possibility to fix it, that could be good. Because it is 1 hour 44 minutes.
Yeah, we don't have any input for that. That LF, or is it LF, or is it just Zoom that does it automatically? I have no clue. It would be good if we can get Bob's view on that. Bob, are you still not audible, or?
Let me get off mute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. Now, I asked you earlier if you were running this meeting or if I should do it. But there is a question on recording. We recorded the training, and apparently it became 1 hour and 40 minutes or something. And there is a 40 minutes thing with just Rafal's name. Is there a way for us to fix it, or how is the recording generated?
Well, it's generated, automatically from the, from the Zoom. It was a Zoom meeting, right?
Yeah.
So that's strange. Maybe the timing was. Maybe was that at the end or the beginning?
It's at
I
the
think,
end. So that normally happens when Rafa doesn't dial out.
yeah.
Leave the meeting, right? So he's
Somebody didn't end. Okay.
Oh, so it was going once we were all done. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So then I guess when you reach that point, one could just stop.
Yeah, I mean, I think that most people would. I mean, I assume there was some. I can't really recall, but I'm sure we wrapped, and said, okay, well, thanks everybody or whatever. And then you kind of know it's over, and then you see just a participant's name who didn't log out. But I would guess that you could go in with a tool or something and edit a recording, but I'm just not. That's got to be some kind of advanced feature that I'm not aware of how you do that. So.
Yeah.
If it's at the end, I wouldn't worry about it too much because it's probably going to be more hassle than it's worth to try and figure out how to truncate
Yeah, exactly.
my recording. I'm sorry. I'm desperately getting ready for a management meeting internally, so I'm kind of listening on the side here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no issues. So that's fine then. Any other questions on tomorrow's training session. So, Bharat, are we showing a demo there as well? Or we just walking through the code, or are we showing how you use the aggregation server to add something?
The demo was showed last time, right? When we added the
Yeah.
server and yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
But
okay.
yeah, and it's brief enough. If people want, we can show that again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, exactly. Good. So as far as community outreach, do you have any updates there, Bob? Because I don't know if Alex is on, is he? Or I've been pinging him as well, and I haven't heard anything back.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he is today. The only thing that I've been working on is, and I need to send an email out, is I want to start. We have 1 week to put together an abstract for about 9 days actually, to put an abstract for the LFN technical conference. I'd like us to. I've been working with Walter Kozlowski of Telstra, who has some specific ideas about how ODIM can fit into reference model and reference architectures. And so we wanted to start brainstorming over email, some of us, an abstract for a session. This is
This is a CNTT then, or sorry?
It's an LF networking wide technical conference, but there are different tracks, and there's a CNTT, OP, and FE track as a sort of combined track. And so we have an opportunity to put a ODIM CNTT, straw man proposal of coordination, collaboration between the projects together. And I meant to send that email out last night to start the discussion, and I'm sorry I didn't. So I'll get that out today. So that's the only one that I've been working on in terms of community outreach, was getting that. The session, by the way, the actual conference is October 13th, 14th, and 15th, virtual online. And so there's a proposal page where you put something up there. We have until the 25th to get it up there. And then the committee tries to jigsaw all these into tracks, all the proposals, tries to get them all in for the 3-day conference, and put a schedule together. So
is this on the community outreach page that Alex created, or?
No. I as soon as I get this email out and we all agree, yeah, let's start working on it, then we kind of have something to throw up there. But it was just sort of it's just at the proposal phase. So I'm sorry, I haven't gotten that out yet.
Yeah. So
we have something similar for OCP, is having a tech week in November.
Mm-hmm.
And so all the projects will have tracks there. So their cutoff was actually last Friday, but since I'm on the IC, if we want to put a abstract in, I can probably still submit it. I'm having Redfish Forum submitting theirs late too. So
I think that would be good. Yeah, if we could quickly.
Sorry, did you have a date?
Oh yeah, so I've updated the community outreach page for this group.
OCP Telco project, October 1st.
Right. So I'll go through it all. Okay. So my initial task was to get to the Telco project. So they've given us October 1st, 15 minutes. So this is at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So the question is, who's attending? Well, we have a slide set ready. Is 15 minutes enough? Following that, we have other OCP projects, because you guys said it wasn't just telco. So it could either be, there's the OpenRMC, which is rack management, and OpenEdge, which is a sub-project under telco, but has part of that community and part of it specifically toward Edge. And those are the dates that, or times of the next meeting. And then finally at the very bottom is the tech week, which I just mentioned, which is November 9th through 13th. skipping that Wednesday because it's Veterans Day, and then the note on the submission deadline. So as soon as we get I get an abstract, I can insert it into, I can attempt to assert it into the in the collection of abstracts that we have.
So what is the expected deliverable there? Is it like a presentation or?
It's usually a presentation. Tech Week, the way OCP is doing it is Tech Week is just a stream of slots given to each of the projects to construct as they see fit.
Hi guys, I joined late. I apologize. I just had a fire drill dumped in my lap at 8 p.m. last night. So we're already doing something in the OCP Tech Week. If you look at, industry events, I think we have a panel discussion or something along those lines. Isn't that true?
So Alex, this is Joe's from AMI.
Yeah.
So from our product office, we tried for OCP Tech Week, and I think yesterday's status was that we didn't have a chance, or the slots are filled up or something. So John, if you think that you will be able to influence to get something in there, then probably I can connect you with our pivot team who try to place ODIM as part of the session.
Which project was he trying to get into?
I will have to find that out.
Okay, because the final responses are not going out until the 22nd.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a submission was deadline was the 11th. We have a week of review individually, and then we meet together to figure out who actually gets in and out.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Let me check back and reach out to you, John.
Right. And if it's telco, right, if one of these projects are full, then maybe the tracks for the other two projects may be of interest if they have openings.
Okay.
John, one question also on the Redfish forum, which Thursday it says.
Oh yeah. So I went to them and I said, can we take a Redfish meeting to go this? He goes, well, if it's a Redfish forum meeting, then it comes under DMTF rules and IP rules, and we may not want that. And if it may be misconstrued as favoritism, which we don't want. So tell you what, why don't you just set up a meeting on that same time slot on Thursday and make an external meeting, and we'll just invite everybody.
Yeah, I think we don't want to do it this Thursday. What time would it be? 8 a.m.?
Yeah.
So let's see. I think Jonas is doing some more education on Thursday, right?
Yeah, there's
tomorrow,
the PSC training, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe for next Thursday, is that okay, John? That will give him a little bit more time to.
Oh yeah. They'll just cancel the Redfish forum meeting and tell everyone to go to this if they're interested.
Okay. All right,
Next
great.
Thursday. And you said it was, when you say 8 to 9, that's Pacific, right?
Correct.
And how long is that? An hour?
It's an hour, but you can take any fraction of that.
Fraction. Okay. So then if we go through the list, can I display this? I probably can somehow. Hold on.
Yeah, you can display the page. I think you just need to make it large.
Yeah. Just trying to find my Zoom. Oh, it became small.
Yeah, it does that. It's very tricky.
Yeah, and then share screen. Hold on. This one. Share. Is that selected now? So can you see this now?
Yes.
Okay. So then we had CNCF October 5th.
So question. So regarding the DMTF, so who's presenting?
I will be there, so
Okay.
I can take some level of burden. But Jonas, I think maybe we can tag team.
Yeah, either me or Martin. The issue is that we have a staff meeting at that time. So one of us has to be in that, and then the other can be on the
Yeah.
in the DMTF meeting. So
I
count
think
on
I
one.
got signed up for the CNCF thing as well by Sebastian. If I'm like I said, I'm kind of been head down doing this
Okay.
other thing, but I think I'm gonna be there. And
Alex, I put
So,
Alex here.
so do we have a presentation ready for this, or is one?
well, we have a presentation. I
Okay,
think we
that's
need
fine.
to pare it down, and I think the conversation is, really just to sort of needs to be focused on adjacent standards that we're looking to sort of be influenced by or to influence, right?
Okay.
And that's really the gist of what we want to do, is just give them a sense of yeah, you guys are building specs, we're building the implementation of the specs. We're not saying ours is the best, but we think we're starting to get traction. And so just kind of give them a sense of where we are. God, my eyes are really bad.
Okay, so then we have CNCF October 5th. CNTT, it's TBD still, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where Bob.
Yeah, I've kind of socialized the idea with Walter Kozlowski. You missed that part, and I need to send out an email today to start the dialogue on hashing out an abstract.
There's a let me see. Okay. All right.
Yeah, we're targeting a joint session at the technical
Who
conference.
is involved in this other than AT&T? And is the Vodafone involved?
Vodafone, Verizon. Let's see.
In CMTT, you mean? Orange is there.
Orange is there. Yeah.
China Mobile, although rather distant from the they are not in the RM. Nokia is there.
Ericsson is there.
Ericsson is there for sure. I am there.
Huawei is there.
Well, the reason.
Hello.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is because well, maybe this is something completely different. I don't know. There is some CNTT project meld.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's just I'm sorry, Thomas, go ahead.
Yeah, CNTT was formed as a task force by the operators, and then vendors came in after a while as well, but it was meant as a task force, and it's been running for a year and a half or something like that. And now they felt there was, from an LFM point of view, it was time to make it slightly more permanent or close it down. And the result is basically that it's a reshape of CNTT and OPNFV melted together, and that project is called MELD. So for all intents and purposes, you can view the word MELD as being the same as CNTT for now, because CNTT is more the specification of how can you make interoperability, larger interoperability in between VNFs and CNFs and the cloud infrastructure, and roughly how can the cloud infrastructure be structured. And there's a specification part. Then they're creating reference architectures that are specifying how OpenStack look like in one of them and how Kubernetes clusters look in another one. And those respective reference architectures are the basis for creating a reference implementation that then have reference conformance test suites connected to them. And that's basically in those implementation and conformance test suites, that's very much the play of OPNFV. So they work together with OPNFV to make the verification and being able to, in the end, certify that the infrastructures as well as the VNFs and CNFs are following the specification of the CNTT.
Of the interfaces.
of the model and the interfaces. I mean, depending on what levels you are, the models are more intended how you should guidelines, I would say rather. And then when you go further down, they are becoming more requirements. And then in the reference implementation, it is a real implementation, but that's just a reference. It's not a product somebody can use.
Sure. Jonas, I think maybe we should dedicate a session in the TSC to kind of trying to dig a little bit deeper into all this and see where the actual points of alignment are, right?
Well, that was kind of the point of building a straw man for the technical conference. Walter Kozlowski has a lot of ideas.
But we need to move that along, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how do would it make sense to just have a session of the TSC and invite Walter to come and participate?
Possibly. It's the time difference is really difficult, right? Because he's 8 a.m. is 8 a.m. here is 1 a.m. Sydney, so it's really.
Oh, he's over there. Okay.
He's in Melbourne, but
Melbourne,
it's the same time zone. Yeah.
Same time zone, yeah. Eastern.
Okay.
Australian. But we definitely needed, to work with him. I just not in this time slot. We have to figure out a different time slot to come up with something there.
So I think we can maybe have an evening meeting or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we had a brainstorming session and then brought back the ideas to the TSC to discuss it here would be great.
Can you set that up for?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, I'll send the email out later today.
Okay.
Okay. So this evening meeting, do we need that or?
Yeah. We I think we should have an evening.
It'll be an out-of-band discussion, is what I'm hearing, and it's going to be just sort of kind of to frame what we want, and then we can discuss it here.
Yeah. And if everyone agrees, we'll formalize it into an abstract, and we'll have a session where we, start to flesh it out and with the CNTT community and see if we get some specific traction on. Hey, let's go try and execute on some collaboration points.
Okay. What about this Open Networking and Edge Summit? I think, do you guys on the Intel side, you're also signed up for some keynote thing there, are you?
Well, we have a gold sponsorship, which gives us one panel and one session, one track session. So we don't have a big sponsorship in it. And of course, those slots were allocated some time ago.
We managed to get signed up from HPE over the weekend.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well,
it was showing closed. Yeah.
I think somebody dropped out or something. I have no details, but all of a sudden LF became extremely cooperative. In any case, so we have 20 minutes, and we intend to spend that talking about ODIM.
Great.
Probably me and Martin. We haven't decided any details yet, so we'll get back. But then you also got some sort of tutorial sessions, which I'm still trying to figure out what that is. 1 to 3 hours needs to be approved by LF before you launch them or before you can actually use them. So that could be an opportunity for, I don't know, panel discussion or a demo, or I don't know. I'll reach out to you guys and as soon as I learn more. But it's coming up here very quickly, though. All of this, right? Like end of September.
Yeah, ONES is the end of September. I don't know very much about these tutorial sessions you're talking about. I think those are like day 0.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're spread out over the 3 days, and they're already when you're doing the enrollment to ONES, then you click in which one you want to go to that are at least the one that are complementary that's coming on the page when you're registering. So I'm wondering if they would like to put on more stuff there because they won't probably not be visible for the people that have registered. But I mean, awesome.
Yeah, but if people already signed up, they already picked their tutorial sessions, I'm thinking.
Yep.
But that's just an extra option, right? So we'll see. This is very fresh. Just wanted to mention it that we have a spot there. So okay. Anything more on the outreach then?
So who's presenting October 1st?
How did we get that
October
clarified?
1st is, what is October 1st?
It's the OCP telco.
I think in some sense, you know, whoever's available can do it, right? The slide deck is the slide deck. That's our materials.
At
So
some point, we need to come out with fresh material, I think.
Yeah, we definitely need to update it.
So we're 2 weeks out, and we'd like a name would be good at this time instead. You know,
that would be helpful.
Well, October 1st. Let me look here. It's like...
Who wants to be the talking head?
Jonas, you want to take? You want to? I mean, we seem to be doing a lot of talking. It would be good for others to talk as well. So.
Yeah, I'm busy at the spot. I probably could juggle that. I will check with Martin as well.
Yeah.
He's out on vacation.
Bob, maybe you should maybe you should take this one, huh?
Good to have new people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alex, Jonas, this is Joe's. I can check my schedule and I can try to chime in.
Okay.
Oh,
work with you.
I mean, if we have a few people on the call to field questions, support the presentation, you know, we can go through the slides. I think this one is going to require would require some changes because we want to be very intentional about the profiles and, you know, what that would mean from the ODIM perspective. We don't have much in terms of that. And I think we do need to flesh that out. I agree that we probably need to do something on that front.
Okay. So John, you can have my name, and Alex, are you in for this October 1st? Or are you busy?
October 1st?
Yeah. That's the OCP Telco.
October 1st.
John, you said it's 15, right?
I'm good. I'm fine. I mean, I can do it. Yes, I'll find a way to do it. Yes.
Yeah, I can give you 15 or 30. I think we agreed on 15, but you tell me how much.
Okay.
I think you can have at least up to 30.
30 minutes would be good. We can sort of lay out the rationale for what we're doing and then say, look, we want to collaborate on the definition of these profiles and, you know, and talk about the motivation.
Okay. And who was the volunteer?
So I'll be
Joe
there.
Joe.
Yeah.
Joe. Okay.
Okay.
I think we want to, for that one, we would want to have a shorter version of what we usually do and just focus entirely on the profile definition.
Yeah.
So Alex, Jonas, you know, if you can share the slide deck, we can work offline for a 30 minutes target, kind of.
Yeah.
Great.
There was some other proposed item for today. Who just joined?
Yeah, Jonas. So I think, you know, when you asked, I was asking, you know, maybe we can talk about the DMTF's interoperability lab, right? The Redfish interoperability lab. Is there any scope for this group to leverage that?
I don't know much about that.
So the interoperability lab is a location in Colorado where vendors can send their platforms to get tested in with Redfish's test suite. They do it about every 2 months. And the only intersection that ODIM would have is that if ODIM had a profile, that it could run profile as part of its interoperability test. Because today, one of the profiles they run is actually OCP server profile. So we can go to OCP and say, as long as you have a profile out there, we can run against it. So if ODIM had a profile,
so we need to start working on that. What I did is that I started with OCP profiles, and then I have added properties.
The issue is that it tests conformance, right? So you don't expect anyone to conform to your northbound interface, but you may have a southbound interface which you can write a profile for, which you could test whether these systems were, quote, ODIM ready to be plugged into an ODIM framework.
So it's just the hardware that you test?
It's the implementation that we test against the profile requirements.
Yeah, I understand that, but on the hardware side, on the southbound of ODIM side is what the testing is going on.
Correct,
not
yes.
Correct, yeah.
I mean, so you could test the northbound side if you thought you had ODIM systems in there that you would actually pass the test. But you write me a northbound test, I'll guarantee you everything will fail, right?
Yeah, obviously the northbound and the southbound side are kind of connected when you write profiles, because obviously there is also a good I mean, having profiles on the northbound side will let clients know what properties are there, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the southbound side, it lets plugin developers knows what properties that need to be populated in order to work in ODIM, and it would let server vendors know what we expect from servers in the future, so we don't need to have special plugins for them. So
Jonas. So I see two possible plays here, right? One is, as John said, you also mentioned, that northbound and the southbound, right? From the northbound, if our ODIM deliverables, if they comply, if they say that we comply with a specific version of Redfish, but also extend more to provide additional features, then that northbound, whatever compliance we have, could be checked for compliance with the DMTF thing, right? So that we know are we on track. That's one thing. The other part is on the southbound. If we say that we manage, any Redfish enabled device, through the Redfish plugin, then that is another option where we can go to this, interoperability lab and try different Redfish implementations to make sure that ours work, right? So that's possibly, two plays. Now, John, you mentioned that it is happening every 2 weeks. Is that right? 2 months. I'm sorry. John?
Muted.
Probably on.
Oh, sorry, 2 months.
2 months. 2 months. Okay. So I'm just trying to understand how this works. So we just take our implementation and run it in the lab. The lab will have many different vendors.
Only Redfish Forum members can provide systems to enter the lab. It just shipped out to the lab itself, and I believe there's a way to install it. And then the tools task force within the Redfish Forum runs its suite of tests against all hardware in that lab.
Okay.
And then does a report out in the tools task force meeting.
So where in Colorado is this? Sorry.
It's I don't know. It's in Coral Springs, I think.
Oh, okay.
It's a SNEA lab. So we just took a portion of that lab and made it.
Okay. So as DMTF Forum members, if hardware is being sent for validations and submitted, can the resource aggregator, the ODIM resource aggregator that we have, can that be validated against those hardware, or how does that work? Is the expectation that only hardware can be tested, or can solutions like software?
No, solutions cannot be tested. You can only test the southbound interface of ODIM.
Ah, okay.
Because
I
what
don't
you're
Yeah.
going to say is you're going to say, I expect the servers I plug into me to have these redfish resources and properties.
Yeah, but
Correct.
ODIM can have that, right?
What?
Yeah.
ODIM can have that. If I give you ODIM and I have a bunch of connector system on the southbound side, you don't see that. I give you ODIM, I give you profiles. Why couldn't you run a test on the ODIM interface?
Because that's not the function of the lab. The function of the lab is to test
Okay.
redfish conformant systems at the hardware level, right? So that's why you have servers there, which are testing the BMC interface.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I understand, but there's no technical challenge. It's like that's not the purpose of the lab. That's
Exactly.
yeah, good. Or I mean, not good,
So-
but I understand. Okay.
So based on what I hear from John, I don't see a play for ODIM there, right? What is your
don't
opinion?
either. I don't either.
Yeah.
I mean, we obviously we could, let's say we write some ODIM profiles for plugin developers, and then we take a new shiny deal 360 Gen 11 in the future, and we send that along with those profiles. We can test and we can see that, okay, there are some shortcomings, there are gaps that still need to be part of a plugin, or no, it conforms exactly. So now we can take the generic Redfish plugin, or perhaps we by that time we have dropped plugins altogether, and so that way we could test it. But I say that's going to be a little bit out, right?
Yeah. And if John, as John said, if it is mainly for certifying hardware, like servers or something, like which has Redfish implementation, then the ODIM is the actual consumer of those servers, right? So we are not on a hardware, or do we have that use case as well, like running on a server?
ODIM is a consumer of those interfaces. I agree.
Correct.
Obviously,
Yeah.
ODIM will have requirements on those interfaces, and that's where the ODIM profile will come into the picture. And the ODIM profile is fictitious right now. It's something that we haven't created, even though we could provide some drafty start for it. I think we need to actually get working on that, because that's going to be important in the future.
So
And just go ahead, John. Yeah.
No, this is Alex. So just in terms of that profile, right? The whole idea was to eliminate the divergence or the lack of consistency in terms of what has been implemented by different vendors, right? And to kind of put
Correct.
a baseline down and say, at minimum, if you want to have infrastructure interoperability, this is what you have to do. And then we can add to it, do whatever, if somebody wants to add in a whole bunch of additional value, they're fine, but at least it would give us a viable way of discovering, collecting data and managing things at a reasonable way, right? That's the whole idea.
Yeah, I think the idea. Yeah, I agree, and I think if we can develop hardware profiles, and if we start with the OCP profiles just as a starting point, I mean, they did a lot of work there, so why not, right? They might be a little dated on versions and stuff, and we can fix that. But then we add the properties that we feel are needed to function inside of ODIM, and then what we do after that is that we start working on our open source plugin and make sure that works really well with an implementation from a server that conforms with those profiles. And then we start putting pressure on companies like the company I work for and other hardware vendors to implement according to those profiles.
Right.
Once we are there, we can now use the DMTF interoperability lab with those profiles on those hardware vendors' equipment, right?
Mm-hmm.
We could. One other thing is that I think from the ODIM perspective, it's not just, there may be all sorts of other equipment that might get instrumented with an ODIM instance, let's say, right? It just depends on where you want to stick it. You know, nominally you could say, well, the BMC implements some set of capabilities, you know, based on Redfish, but for some of the stuff that we've been talking about, BMC is probably not the right place. But something embedded inside a rack or a switch or some of the other sort of alternative ways of running ODIM, that could certainly be interesting to look at as well. So maybe, you know, from a profile perspective, maybe we need to kind of define things in a way that would say, okay, as a managed device, this is what you have to support. And then in terms of these functional interfaces on top, I think that's what we're calling them. We should also have some profiles that talk about which part of those needs to be there at minimum as a baseline.
I think they start with, I need to look at those people.
Now,
but they have a base one, right? And then they import that into the other profiles. And then they have one for storage, one for servers.
Yeah. The other thing, Thomas, one thing to look at as well is look at the CNTT defined model and interfaces and see if those interfaces would need to be somehow supported in the ODIM layer, right? I understand that Kubernetes would sit above ODIM, but if the sorts of things that are being asked at that level are not achievable through, you know, discrete API calls in the ODIM layer, then I think we might be in trouble.
I mean, the reference model points out roughly how the interfaces look like, but the exact details of the, if it is interfaces from Kubernetes down to a hardware infrastructure manager, that the place where ODIM might have an implementation would be called in CNTT language. That is more defined by the reference architecture of Kubernetes, respectively the OpenStack one.
Right.
So RC2 is the one that is going to do Kubernetes or containers, right? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to understand the structure. I mean, the reference model points out that there is a hardware infrastructure layer that needs to have northbound APIs that enables simultaneous multiple Kubernetes instances and OpenStack instances. So it's not how do I build my single Kubernetes cluster with a single piece of hardware underneath where the Kubernetes cluster owns the hardware as a platform. That's not the model. The model is a shared hardware infrastructure that can be used by multiple virtualization layer instances, as they are called, which is then Kubernetes or OpenStack. You want me to show the model?
Sure. And if you could do that, yeah. The CNTT is also very much using Airship and stuff for provisioning, is it?
They are doing that in the reference conformance test suite and the reference implementation, but nothing of that is specified by CNTT higher layers. So, I mean, that's just a choice of the reference implementation and reference conformance test suite.
Okay.
So let's see which screen I am to share. That screen maybe? Am I sharing one screen or not now? No.
Right now, I'm still waiting to come up.
Screen 2, that should be the one.
Yep, it's coming up.
It's an empty screen with an interesting logo. Oh, now it's showing up here.
That's Eric.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is what we call the logical architecture, and if I grab a laser pointer.
Very much Etsy, NFV type of.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, CNTT is pleading themselves guilty of pointing to Etsy wherever Etsy have a solution. And as I said earlier, CNTT does not do interfaces. They point to the industry's places where interfaces are done and try to, in some way, down select or pick choices out of those.
But there is a model that defines, again, a consistent way of requesting virtualized infrastructure resources. That's the
Yes and
point.
no. I mean, yes and no. I mean, this is the level we have in the reference model, which is the high level. There is nothing specified exactly how does where my laser pointer sits now, how does that look like? But it is
I'm actually
discussed.
I'm actually talking about the interface between the CNF and
Up here,
here.
yeah. And CNTT is at the point where the container runtime is specified, and by that also the primary networking that exists in Kubernetes. But as we all know, Kubernetes don't want to have anything else than the single flat network. So all the telco people need secondary networking, and there is a total mess with a lot of different vendors offering a lot of different solutions. There is no standard there whatsoever. And that's one of the tasks that potentially CNTT will try to dig into over the time to come. But the secondary networking is something that I, in this model, say it's a CNTT reference point because nobody else is pointing to what it should be. The container runtime is already specified by Kubernetes.
Right.
And there is a lack of a container management interface as well. I mean, how do you, on a management stack, manage the actual Kubernetes instance? That's also sort of more or less the Wild West. Each and every CNI is doing it their own way.
This is the fundamental difference in approach, right? There's the applications on top of Kubernetes, or the cloud native applications, are generally managing themselves and spawning their own instances and doing whatever they need to do.
Yeah,
they don't need to have a they don't necessarily need to have something on the right, but maybe.
I wouldn't really agree. I mean, one of the big hurdles in the telco industry is that even if we have written a lot of cloud native or ported applications to be cloud native now, they don't have a container management system in place, which means that they have a problem with the container infrastructure in the operator space for these things. So I would not agree on that the CNFs are self-sufficient. It's more that the CNFs are relying on that Kubernetes should be part of the scale out, scale in type of a thing, but there is no real orchestration being defined in a good way of how that should be done. There are so many different ways of handling the secondary network, but that's on a different level than we are dealing with here.
But it looks like Mono was kind of clean with Etsy, came out with it, and now we just slammed in some container management there.
Well, the problem is that
very confused picture.
Mono starts above here. I mean, Mono don't necessarily go in here normally.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that I think when Etsy originally developed the architecture, they stopped at the virtualization layer and that's it. And they just assumed that magic would happen underneath. And what they've discovered since then is that magic doesn't happen. And then you need to have, real physical infrastructure management and network fabric management, which is what, the pointer is pointing to. It's all of that. And guess what? If you look at the iFoot track and Etsy and the V, there's still no coherent.
They stop here.
Yeah, but I mean, they tried to model containers. They tried to model container requirements for CNFs and VNFs for containerized deployment. And I don't know where any of that went. There were multiple proposals. They were not really coherent.
6 different proposals in IFA 29 for how to do those.
Exactly, right?
And then there is a discussion about what's good and what's bad about them, but that's where it's left.
So then anyhow, to tie this back to ODIM, I guess in a lot of use
ODIM
cases,
is here.
Yeah, in a lot of use cases, you will have like a ironic or something exercising ODIM's APIs or something similar, right?
That would
ironic i3 metal, something like that coming out of here could be things exercising ODIM.
Yeah, metal 3,
as well
ironic,
as
airship, Yeah.
Yeah.
All of that could be there. I mean, you could arguably say that even Kubernetes somewhere here or something on the left side could call ODIM directly. If I have an
Technically it could, but I think that the general thing here is that it's important. The very, very important thing in this figure is that you should not view it as a top-down structure. You should view it as there are many infrastructures that should run on the same hardware infrastructure.
Exactly.
There is a need for some sort of provisioning, sharing the resources, saying that this virtual infrastructure manager is then have these resources, and pretty much following the composability. I mean, if you look at the composability study in Redfish, or the task force in Redfish, that is a multi-client target they have now. That fits very well into this interface when it goes into the actual managers for each and every one.
So I think I actually have an idea of how we can get the conversation framed, Bob, for CNTT and ODIM. If we assert that we're the bottom right piece,
Yeah.
we assert that the interfaces we're codifying in Redfish are the ones going to the left, the resource management interface down on the left, coming out of the left side, as well as the functional interfaces, you know, for composition, aggregation, all of that stuff that are coming out of the top, then I think that's a start of a conversation.
Yeah, but I think you need to be careful saying we are the bottom right piece. We are part of it, you could say. Because
I think that you are maybe one of the implementation fitting here, because I think that from a CNTT point of view, I mean, I feel that on a reference model, we would be hopefully pointing to Redfish, where my red dot is now, and Redfish, and potentially the data model for switch fabrics, because the switch fabrics would sit here.
Yep.
This is my,
but that would not, I mean, this would not be ODIM per se, but ODIM would be one way of implementing this that could be used in one of the references.
Yeah, I think we need to be a little more precise, Thomas, right? Because this is really a view of the world at day 1 and day 2, right? There's no day 0 here.
Thing is, we're running out of time, guys, and I had a hard stop.
I gotta jump actually now. So, but I think that Tomas and Walter, you know, put this together and there's some very specific ideas that we can talk about with Walter and then bring back. There's no way to get all three of us, Tomas and Walter and the U.S. folks on the same call, I don't think. But
we can. I mean, I have 24 hours a day, so that's not a problem.
we'll try
and to be part of that, though.
We'll try and figure it out. Let's get a conversation and straw man something that can be talked about on the virtual conference next month.
Yep.
I got to jump, guys.
Yeah, me too. Well, good. So we didn't get to
Tomas, can you, I'm sorry, Jonas, just wanted to jump in really quick. Can you post this slide in PowerPoint form? So we can
post the whole PowerPoint. I mean, this is from the LFN webinar that me and Walter held. So I can post the whole slide deck there, I think.
Well, whatever you guys want to do. I mean, what I'm interested in is kind of starting to decompose the right side and say, look, day 0 provisioning tools like Airship, whatever components they may use, or the cluster API, or the Tinkerbell kind of stuff, or pick your favorite sort of, you know, day 0 provisioning tool. That's separate.
I'll post just this one because I'm not 100% sure of what rights I have to spread things from within CNTT. So I'll post exactly the content of this one without the LF networking logo.
That'll be fine.
I made this picture.
Okay.
Great.
So that's yours. So, Jose, could you do you think you will be ready for a discussion around contribution next week, or is that? I just want to get some agenda topics.
Sure, Jonas. Yeah, we can prep that up. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Right, guys, I need to jump. Thank you very much. Talk to you later.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Good discussion.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
week.
Oh, yes. See you tomorrow. Yeah. Bye.